who has already gone through this, it will be really good to learn from her. So briefly, before she comes on board, we would like to introduce us in case you're joining us for the first time and you don't know about use and tech. For those who know about use and tech already, this will just be a gentle reminder. So use and tech is a platform dedicated to closing the gender gap between women and technology. We offer several non-coding courses such as business analysis, data analytics, data governance, product design, product marketing, bioinformatics, Salesforce CRM, cybersecurity, amongst others. And a little about our founder. Our founder is a female, and she started her career in tech about 10 years ago, and she never touched a line of code. And she witnessed a gap between women and technology. We watched families lose their jobs to digitization. Host, can you help us mute the person? Thank you. All right, please let us stay muted should in case our background is noisy. Thank you. So she set up a platform where women who have increasingly become breadwinners can acquire non-coding technical skills and apply for high-quality jobs in less than 2 months. The result has been phenomenal, and we are committed to doing more. Please, let's go to the next slide. All right, please, let's go to the next slide. Thank you. So we are the previous one. All right, thank you. So we are fully online, and we have trained people from over 25 countries.
September, October, which is almost the same time, really.
Can you please help us mute the lady? All right, thank you. So we are fully online, and we have trained from over 25 countries. This has been made possible by the virtue of hands-on training and quality of facilitators. By 2030, our aim is to have trained over 100 million African women through paid and free sessions such as this. So let us welcome our guests. Please let us go to the next slide. Let us show where our students currently work. Then we go to the next slide. All right, so here are some of the companies where our students work. Please, let's go to the next slide. All right, and now over to our host today. We are going to be introducing our host. Our host is Yejide, and she is a data governance professional and a digital entrepreneur with a legal background spanning over a decade. Yejide combines a legal training with data governance to provide strategic advice and guidance to companies across diverse industries. She also has an LLM in corporate governance and financial regulation from the University of Warwick. Her journey from Nigeria to the United Kingdom provides her with a first-hand perspective on immigrant experience. Remember, I was saying it, that it's going to be really nice to follow the person who knows road in our language. So she is the founder of Bloom Hell, a beacon of support for women from minority ethnic backgrounds. Yejide is also passionate about sharing knowledge and insights. She shares valuable content empowering individuals using our social media platforms. So with our shoulders high and with a sitting ovation and standing ovation, please let's welcome Yejide to start the session. You can send reactions, you can clap, you can show excitement. Let me start my own excitement.
Hello. Yeah. Can you hear me? Good evening.
Hi,
Yes,
Yejide.
we can.
Good evening. How is everyone doing? Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being a part of this webinar. It's an awesome privilege to be here this evening. Hughes on Tech is a home. Anyways, and I think I'm going to start by sharing my journey into tech, how it started. Bisola Labi is my friend. And, when I started talking about, in fact, she was when I started having that conversation about transitioning into tech several years back. I can't remember what year, and that seed started. This was very instrumental to me transitioning generally into tech, having conversations about what that is, what it's going to look like, just having that support team, just pushing you with a couple of friends. So I'm really excited to be here. I'm looking forward to answering all the questions and giving a lot of tips and information. Thank you so much, Ian. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank
Awesome.
you. You have the floor, Mom. You have the floor. Or should I be asking you the questions, or you just the questions?
I wanted it so that it doesn't look so. I want it to be very engaging, to be honest.
So this is interactive, right?
Yeah, very interactive. So please go ahead
right.
and ask questions, and happy to You're mute.
Yes, please give me a moment, please. Give me a moment.
Yeah. While waiting for Yanu, for everyone who is here, please type in the comment section where you are watching this from. So type your location, your country, if you're in Nigeria, if you're in the UK, drop that in the section. It will actually be nice to, be able to know where everyone is. So I'm obviously I'm here in the UK. So it's been snowing. I can see Scotland, I can see Nigeria. Hello, Cody, I can see Lagos, Oyinye, hi, Ijebu, Ogun State. London, hi, Omotola Desanya. Tracy, hello from Nigeria. Birmingham, Ade said, that's good. Sheffield, I can see that. Lagos, Nigeria. Hi, Angela. Leeds, Manchester. Wales, nice. Hi, Wales, UK, Odola, I can see that. Welcome, everyone. It's really, really nice to see that we have a broad, diverse audience. While we're waiting for Yanu, Liverpool, oh, amazing. Hi. For those in the UK, did it snow in your area? Because we literally woke up and we got like a snow, update. Hi, Abigail from Port Harcourt. It's really nice to have you. Thank you so much for being a part of this. We really, really, really appreciate you. So I think I'm just going to start while we're waiting for Iyanu, just talking generally about what data. Oh, yeah, she's here now. So that's good. Yeah.
No. Do what you want to do. It's fine.
Okay.
When you're done, I'll speak up.
Oh, okay. So I'm just going to start. Hi, Blessing from London. Hi, how are you? Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. Thank you so much. I'm going to start by talking about what data governance is, because I think that's one of the common questions I get every day. People ask me, what is data governance? And it's important to know that data governance is not a very obvious field. So you're going to hear people talking about business analysts, you're going to hear project management, you're going to hear product owner. I mean, there's so many tech roles, right? Even data analysts, you hear them, but people don't know what data governance is. So I'm going to start by explaining what exactly. Yeah, Scrum Master, Liz said Scrum Master. Thank you so much, Liz. So I'm going to start by talking about what data governance is, right? So the definition. You are. Please mute yourself, everyone. Thank you so much. So the official definition for data governance is, and I say official because there is like a body that regulates data governance, data management, and the definition is that data governance is the exercise of authority and control over the management of data assets. So forget about that big English. What that simply means is this: every organization right now makes decisions using data. In fact, you will hear lately that people have been talking about how data is the lifeblood of modern organizations. Most organizations, in fact, all organizations cannot function without data. So data governance basically helps you to ensure that your data is a strategic asset within your organization. What it does, it helps you to protect the value of your data. It helps you to improve the integrity of your data. And you can actually build trust with your stakeholders. For instance, in the course of my job, I hear senior executives, CEOs talk about how they don't trust the data within their organization. They can't tell you that they're getting accurate reports and accurate insight. So what data governance does is it helps you to improve everything that has to do with getting good quality of your data. You can have accountability for your data, your processes are improved, and most importantly, you can trust the data you have to be able to deliver business value. So for instance, if you're a company that I always like to use this idea of Primark, here in the UK, it's a retail company, they have different things. But for people that can remember, so Primark started majorly by selling clothes, right? And if you look, it has transitioned into doing different things. So they have their own aspect now, where if you go to Primark, you'll find pillows, you find towels, you'll find candles, you'll find, wallboards, different things. Now, I realized, and based on my readings, that Primark realized that a lot of the people that come to shop within their, within their stores are millennials, millennials. I don't want to say you and I, because in my mind I'm Gen Z, but there are millennials that need all those things. So they're there shopping, and they realize that, what do these guys need? This is what they want. And that's how they just literally expanded. So you have shoes, you have underwears, you have the own part of it, you have candles, you have everything. And this is what data governance does, because it helps you to improve the quality of your data so that you can trust your data to be able to deliver your business values and your objectives. So that's a brief summary of what data governance is. Ian, over to you. Are you there?
Yes, please, I am. Thank you so much. Thank you for the brief intro. I believe everyone now has, the proper understanding of what data governance is all about. So let's get started. So the first question we have on our list tonight is that, what are the key skills and qualifications employers look for when hiring for data governance roles in the UK?
Awesome. So if you check a typical job description for the role of data governance professional, right? If you look at that JD, these are the basic skills that you're going to see. So the first one, which I really like, is cross-functional collaboration. And that's because as a data governance professional, you're going to be collaborating with teams to carry out your role. Now, data is, if you look at it, it goes across different organizations, right? And apart from that, within the organization, it goes through all the business areas and business functions, which means that you can't do your job alone. You have to have conversations with these people. You have to collaborate with them to be able to ensure that your data is a strategic asset. So you're going to be collaborating with teams, technical team, HR, finance, legal, sometimes compliance, different people. You're going to be working with these people to be able to develop policies. You're going to be working with them to be able to improve their processes. If they have issues, if they are pain points, you're going to be having those conversations with them and collaborate with them. Another thing, again, for anyone who wants to get into data governance roles is to have strong communication skills. It is really important because you're going to be communicating with your stakeholders all across all levels in your organization. So it's not just only colleagues, within your level. You're going to be having a conversation with senior executives, the CEOs, depending on the tier within your organization. And where is this important? A lot of people, like I've just explained to you right now, don't understand what data governance is. So sometimes your job is to be able to explain that without speaking any verbosity, and all of those things, just breaking it down in a way that they can understand and it can align to their business values, their pain point. You have to be able to explain all of that. And also because part of your job might be to onboard people. So there's some senior executives that are going to be taking ownership of data. You have to be able to have those kind of conversations with them. Another thing is, and that takes us to the next point, you need to have stakeholder engagement and management skills. Remember that you're going to be working closely with these guys to implement the data governance strategy, sometimes even the data strategy within that organization. So you have to be able to engage them. Sometimes it's not as easy as it is. People can be resistant to change. You might struggle to get people to do things, and that's why you need to be able to handle them, manage them. I'm doing a course on change management. And one of the things I learned in that course is, being able to wear, in quotes, like mask. It's almost like you deal with people in different way. This is who this person is. You identify their issues, you deal with them in that way. The way you deal with A is not also the way you deal with B. You might need to change your tactics in terms of doing that. So you need that. And you also need excellent interpersonal skills, because you need to have the ability to be able to relate with people from diverse cultural, environments, from diverse business area functions within the organization. And another important thing is you need to have understanding, at least a basic understanding of data governance principle, data management principles, best practices, trends within an organization. It's really important. So you have to be reading, be on top of your game. But again, like it's, if you look at these basic skills I've mentioned, these are skills that are generally available. People who are doing different roles, someone like me who's come from a legal background now into the tech space, I've been able to harness those skills and use them to be able to transition into data governance. So I hope that helps, Iyanu, in terms of the kind of skills you're looking for. And it also helps because when you're putting together your CV for job roles, you need to be able to showcase all of this in your CV.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much. Before we move on to number two, we have lots of questions. But before we move on to number two, can anyone tell me two out of the things she mentioned that is going to be important? Because what she basically mentioned are mostly soft skills. There are really no technical skills, like knowing how to use a particular tool. Most of it is management, knowing how to communicate, and then best practice, data governance practices. So I've already mentioned it. I'm not going to ask the question again because people have already heard me. Let me just go to number two. Can you share insights into the typical career paths for professionals entering the field of data governance in the UK?
Awesome. So I'm going to say that the demand for data governance professionals has grown a lot because organizations are using data on a daily basis. And like I said earlier, data is the lifeblood of modern organizations. So there are so many roles that are available within an organization. And also because there are regulatory, what's the word now? Insistence, is that the proper word? So regulators are insisting that organizations should have data governance professionals. So most of these organizations, businesses are creating roles for that to be able to accommodate that, and also to show that, they're complying with this. So you have roles like data governance lead. If you're looking for jobs, on job boards for those in Nigeria, there's I can't remember those job websites, but if you check them, for those roles, you might be looking out for things like that. And also for those in the UK, Australia, Canada, whatever country you are in, it doesn't matter. But look for roles like data governance lead. You're going to be looking for things like data governance manager, data governance analyst. Sometimes you can see roles like data stewards, depending on, the organization. There's master data management specialist, there's data quality analyst. And I'm also going to say that as a data governance professional, what I've also realized is there are various options available to you. So you can decide to work as a consultant, which is what I'm currently doing right now. I work with a consulting firm. And that gives me the opportunity to work with different companies and also work on a range of projects. And it has given me a lot of skills, because I'm working in a tech firm. You can also work in-house. So those roles I've mentioned, like the data governance lead, data governance manager, those are roles that you can find in-house with a company, and you can work with them, in that organization to help them harness the value of their data. I hope that helps. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. Thanks so much. So number three question, I'm going to go back to number two to go ask question later. So number three, how important is practical experience versus formal education in securing data governance positions? How
So
important is practical experience?
This is a very tricky question. Do you know why I said that? Because I think personally, both practical experience and formal education plays a crucial role in you being able to learn data governance roles. And here's the reason why. So your practical experience sort of shows you hands-on skills, problem-solving abilities. When you're having those conversations, you can be able to say, I have worked on this, I have done this is what I have gotten, the skills I've been able to get. While formal education plays a foundational role because you have an understanding of principles and frameworks. I always say to people, before you go and apply for roles, you have to be able to speak the language, the vocabulary, but you're not going to understand it if you don't have a basic, that education. And when I say education, it doesn't have to be like you going to university. There are boot camps, for instance. I know Koinonia, in collaboration with Hills and Tech, they have their data governance training. So these are the kind of things I'm talking about in terms of education. But the thing is, ideally, a combination of the two would help you to enhance your competitiveness in the field. So when you are going to apply for jobs, you can stand out because you can speak the vocabulary, and also because you get the experience. And this training is, like I mentioned, you get hands-on experience from those trainings. And I'm also going to say that I've spoken to people who have basic knowledge of data governance and they landed roles. In fact, let me give you an example. There was a role I applied for one time, and I remember getting into the interview and I started talking, and I was speaking to the head of the data program in that organization. It's a finance organization. And he said to me that when they did the vacancy and the posting for the vacancy and they put it out, they were not really expecting people that are experienced like that. So I remembered him saying to me, like, you know what, the salary range was lower than what I was expecting, and he was going to have conversation with HR to increase the package because they were moving me to the next level, and that salary range was too low for me. And this is a job that was in that description. They have put this and that in it. So why am I saying this? And I've also spoken to people that have been able to land role. There was someone I know, no basic experience at all, got an interview for a job. So it's sometimes the way you capture your experience in your CV. I tell people I used a lawyer, with previous, I didn't have a previous technical experience. My legal role, my experience is still in my CV. I say it, even in my organization, they know that I'm a lawyer. I've got a legal background for several years, over 10 years I've been working as a lawyer. So don't shy away from putting all of those experience in your CV. People with just basic understanding sometimes get jobs, or even with none, you would get training most times in an organization. That's it from me, Yano. Are you there? I think your network has gone off. Okay. So in the meantime, while I'm waiting for her, what I'm going to do is to read through what do they call it now? The comments here, so that I can respond to them. So I can see someone talking about communication, stakeholder management. Yes, this was when we're talking about the roles, responsibility. Wendy says we have a Nigerian audience. I do apologize for that. Yes, I did mention that earlier. Yes, we have a Nigerian audience, and then we have people from different countries, not only even Nigeria. I'm sure there are people from Australia, from Canada right now, and all of that. That's good. So someone has asked, like, what is the difference between data quality and data governance? I have seen organizations that have this as two separate roles. Yes. So I always like to say that data quality and data governance is like two seeds in a pod. So they coexist. Separate concepts, but they coexist. So what data quality is really all about? I mentioned earlier now that data governance is the exercise of control, authority over the management of your data. So that has to do sometimes with compliance, like policies, procedures, and all of that. But data quality is all about ensuring that your data is fit for purpose. So there's some things that we call criteria that we use to manage data quality. But you say that the quality of your data is good, is fit for purpose. And for purpose, what that means is there's something there. Can you please mute yourself? Thank you so much. Fit for purpose means you being able to use the data for the objective that you have in mind. So let's give an example. For instance, the essence of your data, or your organization, for instance, is to provide clothes for plus size people, the quality of your data that you will get will be based on that objectives. The things that you're going to be doing and your reporting will be based on that objective. So you want to be able to show that, you know what, your data is clean and accurate enough for that. And the criteria that we use is, there's something we call accuracy. Does your data reflect, current reality? Is it accurate? Is your data consistent? That one, consistency across all systems. So if you have two different systems within your organization, is your data consistent with that? There is completeness, which means that and I always like to give this example of, for those of us from the UK and the US, and so in some, not only some countries will ask that, in terms of your name, the only thing you give, the only data, your first and your last. There's someone who is muted there. Can you please mute yourself? Please mute yourself. Thank you so much. I can't mute whoever it is. I think Ayo, please mute yourself. Jessica, okay, please mute yourself. I can't mute people, but please mute yourself if you're there. The host is not here. So like I was saying, so these are like criteria that you would use to determine if your data is accurate, you get. But with data governance, you're doing things like, for instance, you're setting ownership. There's something we call ownership. So 3 elements to note in data governance. You have the people, the process, and technology. So the people part of it is in terms of, you need to have owners for your data. That's what we call them. You need to have people within your organization that have to be responsible for your data. It's almost like being responsible for the quality of your data. You need to have processes that would be able to enhance all of these things that we've talked about. And then, which is the last part of it, technology, you having a tool for you to be able to enhance the quality of your data. And I always say it's the last, because you'll be shocked that most companies, very big top organizations, don't have any tool in terms of, data governance, data quality tools. I don't want to mention names, but like, I have worked with some organizations, like, oh wow, when you see them, you're thinking, oh, these guys, very structured, and that is it. And that's how you will know that data governance is in demand, because now regulators are insisting that they need to do all of these things, and they need professionals to be able to do that for them. So I hope that answers that question. Someone has asked, before I move to the next question, someone has asked, what's the first step for someone looking to get a role as a data governance analyst? If you've been listening earlier, one of the things I talked about is those key skills. So I always say to people, do like I call it SWOT, your strength, your weakness, look at your core strengths and see if you have those skills. So you start from doing that. The next will be for you to get a basic understanding of what data governance is. So like I mentioned earlier, Hilton Tech, and I know Koinonia Consult, they collaborate together to offer data governance trainings for people. So the next step will be for you to get that basic understanding of what data governance is, and then armed with that, you start looking for a job, and you take it from there. And then someone said, can someone from food quality control background switch to data governance? So I've seen people like from medical background switch to data governance. I've seen a medical doctor switch to data governance. I've seen someone who did biochemistry switch to data governance. I've had colleagues who, when we're talking about our experiences, they've come from diverse places and they switch to data governance. So never say never. Food quality control. In fact, when you said control, I'm just thinking to myself, if you remember the definition of data governance that we just gave right now, there's exercise of control and authority. So, but yeah, on a serious note, I believe you can switch to data governance. Yeah, anyone can transition into it's a non-coding role. And someone has asked,
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Yejide. So the 5th question that we'll be asking is, what are the specific industries that we should be looking for when trying to apply for data governance roles? So we understand that the government of UK has insisted that organizations should hire data governance consultants. But what are the specific industries? So we are not fish. We are not trying to struggle when applying for these roles. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to say that the importance of data governance is growing across all sectors, and every organization is recognizing the value of data management and data governance. And like I said earlier, regulators are insisting. So I'm not going to say that it is specific to a particular field. You need to see like all of the industries are actually recruiting. So finance, healthcare, tech, retail. Even if you go, like if you get a basic search for data governance roles, you'll find them in different places: finance, bank, everything. So, you know, the options are really, really wide. It's not restricted to specific industries. You can actually work with different sectors.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Yejide. Thank you. So moving on to number 5. Number five says, what are some common challenges data governance professionals face in their roles? I think we have 2 questions in that particular number. So let me ask that first, and then I will ask the second one. So what are the challenges?
So I will start with the first challenge, and it's the fact that a lot of people are resistant to change. When you look at data governance deeply, you'd realize that there's a mixture of change management. It's majorly about cultural shift. So it's being able to get individuals, like stakeholders, to have that mindset that, you know what, we want our data to be a strategic asset. We want it to bring value for us. And what that means is you have to have a data-driven culture. And let me break that down. In an organization, you want to be able to use your data, right, to get value from you for your objectives. But it means you having to go through like to the foundation. So if, say, for instance, you are a retail company, you've got customer advisors. From that mindset of when we take data within this organization, when we're getting details of customer, here are certain things that we need to do. You know, this is how we're going to get it. So first name, you know, our last name, this is accurate. We need phone numbers. We need to ensure that postcode is correct, you know, those basic things. So because sometimes people feel like, oh, you know, data governance is all about just, you know, the tech field and everything. It's all about the business. So that's one of the major challenges that we face, because it's so hard to convince people sometimes to see, like, you know, these are the things we need to do. Sometimes we do training, we do onboarding. We're trying to get people to be what we call data owners and data stewards, to take accountability for their data. And a lot of people just see it as, you know, extra work, or it's going to be bureaucratic. I can't be bothered with this. I already have existing role and existing, you know, responsibilities. I don't want to take anything in addition to what I'm doing already. Yeah, after all, you're not going to be paying me, right? So those are one of the common challenges that we see as data governance professional. Another challenge I would say is that you see that companies are doing things differently. So there was a project I was working on, and they have different like business functions, business areas within the organization. And one of the things we realized when we're doing, like, we're mapping out and looking out at the stakeholders, we're trying to gauge the maturity of the organization in terms of their data governance. And we realized that people were doing different things. So you have someone who is in maybe marketing. They are also trying to ensure that the quality of their data is good, right? They are doing their own thing. They probably gotten maybe someone in the organization say, you know what, your job is to be data governance person. Meanwhile, you have customer service too, who is thinking, I want to enhance the quality of our data, right? They're doing their own thing. They've gotten someone else. So everybody is working in what we call them data silos, right? And it is really important for us to bring everyone together so that you see your data as an enterprise, like, you know, asset. Everybody across that organization sees it that way. So those are like some of the common challenges that we see in the course of working as data governance professionals. I hope that helps.
Yes, it does. It does. Are there other ones? Are there other ones?
I think
those 2 are like the major ones.
Yeah, so it again is lack of motivation, which goes the root of cultural change. So when you have lack of motivation for some of the stakeholders, they cannot be bothered. And sometimes, you know how stakeholders, senior stakeholders, CEOs are thinking of other things. You need to be able to harness it's like you need to align data governance to the values within the organization. And we struggle sometimes with this. So this week I wrote a blog post with my colleague, and we're talking about how to measure the return of interest of data governance. It's really hard for you to, because most times when you're starting data governance, right, I like to give this illustration of a Maldudua. I just heard H factor iceberg, right? So you know the iceberg. I don't know who that watched Titanic. You know, there's so much happening in the background. It's really thick, right? There's that background thing. And that's how data governance is. You are laying foundation. You're doing like sometimes you're doing like just laying those foundation. It might be having conversation with stakeholders. You're trying to find out, you know, the pain points within the organization. What are the issues that they're dealing with? How do we resolve this, right? But senior stakeholders are looking for something that will be, you know, like if you're creating a software or a tool, now you have something tangible to show. With data governance, it's really hard sometimes because you need to set that foundation for you to now be able to build whatever it is on it. So it's always really hard sometimes being able to show the value. And someone said something about data governance being fairly new industry. It's actually not. So it's grown from different sectors. You'll be shocked that you have people that have been working for over a while there, but it's just the way data is evolving. There are different things that keep coming out, and that's exactly what's happening right now. So it's the fact that a lot of people don't understand that, and being able to communicate that value is the way people don't really know what data governance is. So you can imagine trying to tell that this is the value. They were like, are you a data analyst? Are you a project manager? Are you a BA? What exactly are you bringing to my organization? Like, bounce. That's how it is. So one of the issues that we face is being able to illustrate the value of data governance. And in that blog post, I talked about things that you need to do organization for you to be able to, which is sometimes communicating the value, you know, getting people together to be able to communicate this value, you know, setting KPIs so that you're able to say, this is what we had before, this is what is happening right now. Yeah. So
all right,
that's
thank you so much. Yeah. So before we go to the next question on that, like 5B, you know, you mentioned that companies do things differently. And so you try to align them. How have you been able to solve such a situation where you have a company that is doing different things? Yes.
Yeah. So I think the first thing from my own experience is having conversations. Sometimes some issues are resolved by having conversations. So we have a meeting where we start talking about data governance and the need for us to harness everybody, like just align everybody together. Another thing again is before you start doing that, you need to understand who your key stakeholders are, like who are the ones that are like, you know, the top guys. Once you map that out, you start talking about the value of data governance. When you map out the stakeholders, figure out their pain points. So you're going to probably have people talking about how, for instance, they already have 2 different tools. So when someone is doing something, it's a duplication. That's one of the things I regularly hear. There's duplication. Everyone is doing something, you know, data is duplicated. There's confusion. Maybe someone has produced a spreadsheet. It's not aligning to what this person is doing. So our job is to be able to say, you know what, your pain points, right? We are going to bring it. This is the issue you're having. This is how data governance is able to improve that by, you know, for instance, if there's duplication of data, if you bring data governance in and also incorporating data quality, we have those data quality criteria. You can actually measure the accuracy of your data, ensuring that your data is valid, is unique in one instance, which means that there's no duplication, you know. So those are that's one way that we resolve issues like this. So having these conversations, trying to see, let them see the value of data governance by bringing, you know, their pain points and showing how we can resolve their issues. And then a lot of education and training. You'll be shocked. People, like I said, people don't know. So we do a lot of, I do a lot of talking. I do a lot of creating like PowerPoint decks, just having presentations to say, this is what data governance is. This is what data governance can do. Another thing again is comms plan. So we call that communication plan. It's literally when you start spreading, like talking about the value of data governance, you need to be able to do it in a strategic way that people can get that information. So we can come up with like a comms plan to say, you know what, information is going to be shared through emails. We can, if the company has like we call them social media platform, like for some companies have Yammer is almost like their Facebook, you know, those kind of things. We share those kind of information there so that people are aware. You know, education and training is really, really, really important in terms of solving that. That's it, Ian.
All right, thank you. So I think number 5B has actually been solved because number 5B says, how can aspiring candidates get to address issues like this? And I think that was what you just mentioned.
Okay, because I was going to say,
partly.
Yeah. Oh, remember all the skills that we talked about earlier? You can actually resolve them by, getting all the skills, like we said, getting interpersonal skills, communication skills, being able to be sure that you can address all those resistance we talked about. It's just, and also staying updated sometimes. If you're staying updated, it's easier for you to have a collaborative mind, and you're dealing with people, you're having those, conversations. Being proactive helps to be able to resolve these issues. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So, please, before we go on, does anyone have any question as regards the questions we've shared so far? Does anyone have any question before we
so I can
go on?
see some questions. So
Okay.
I can see some questions in the comment section.
So
so the first person said, is data governance the same as cyber security? Well, we would like to hear from Yejide because she's in the corporate space, and I'm sure that she works with all of the stakeholders. I'm sure she works with the data analyst team, and then she also works with the cyber security team. We need to understand how she's differentiated from all of these other guys.
So if the person was on the call earlier, I spoke about data governance being exercise of control, authority over the management of asset data, right? It is enforcement, it's ensuring that there's compliance with policies, procedures, and all of that. But data analysis is, you are literally looking at a data, right? There's a bit of technical bits to it. So my own understanding from the people I work with is the data analysis guy are doing like technical bits of it. They're analyzing your data, right? Maybe with the goal of ensuring that they find an information or something. Or sometimes guys are doing what we call like data modeling, which is literally mapping out, data within an organization. That's not data governance. Data governance is you being able to show that organization that, this is the value that your data can bring for you. So there is a bit of technical, and I always say to people, technical bit of it. For instance, you might need to, if you are trying to figure out within an organization, and this is definitely, if you're trying to figure out within an organization, like where the data, is located, you're going to be working with people like data analysts to find that, you are going to probably be mapping out, there's something we call mapping out those business areas into what we now call data domains. So it's a logical grouping of data according to interest. And the easy way to say it is like in an organization, for instance, if you see that they've got HR is going to have employee data. So you're probably going to have an HR domain. Customer service is probably going to have customer data. You're going to have customer domain. You're likely going to have, if they have assets, you're going to have asset domain and all of that. But that's basically like the bit of, saying. There's someone that is...
No, wear that trouser again. Let me see with the trouser.
Host, can you please help us mute them? So that's what data governance is. Data governance is also not cybersecurity, because I know cybersecurity involves you having some technical bits. Well, maybe not a lot, but like in terms of securing, safeguarding the integrity of your data, it's all about security. That's really not what data governance is all about. We're making sure that, you are able to harness the value of your data. We're putting ownership and control around that. We're helping you with policies and procedures. We're going to be working with like the IT professionals within the organization. We're going to be working with stakeholders to be able to figure out who is going to be a data owner, who is going to be a data steward. We have conversations with data custodians in terms of, so if there are data quality issues within the organization, and some of these things, you need to implement control, or you need to start doing like improvement, cycle, just to be sure that whatever solutions you have implemented, has worked, so that those data quality issues are not recurring, right? Those are the kind of things that you're going to be doing. But it is not cybersecurity at all. It's not cybersecurity. It's different from data analysis. And so it's important to also say that most data of data governance is most times like I always say, it's a mid-level role. So we interact with stakeholders, like I said. You're not going to find a data analyst having conversations with CEOs and all of that, to be honest. We deal with the senior executives. We get the requirement from the business in terms of what they want. We translate this back to the technical team. So does that help?
I think that's an interesting role. I think that's an interesting role, because I can imagine a lot of people saying, so why was I hired? Why was I hired? Do you mean that all I will be hired? The reason why I was hired was just to to ensure that, we get our data policies right. We get our data policies right. We ensure that we collect the data the right way, because when we look at the Nigerian way of working, I mean, we are used to working extremely so hard. And then some people don't believe that some of these roles exist. And that's the difference between maybe the Western world and, Nigeria, because the Western world understands that there should be ownership. Somebody should be responsible for something. And that's where the data governance consultants come into place. I can imagine that 95% of your time, you are having conversations around your job, basically. So it's
And
not breaking. It's just basically using your...
No, you were saying something, sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, I think it's the network. I said I can just imagine that 95% of your time, it's not, your job is not backbreaking. You are not designing dashboards. You are just ensuring that the policies are set in place. You are having conversations. I'm just some people cannot believe that all you are hired to do as a data consultant is to be having conversations 90% of the time.
Because I'm going to say to you that it's not only just policies. There's the procedural part of it. So for instance, issues like, let me give you an instance of, if there's a data quality problem within an organization, maybe data was imputed wrongly, and there's usually and that's one of the things you do, because if you get into a company that we call greenfield that does not have data governance, your job is for you to be able to create a data governance strategy. You will create a data governance roadmap. It's not, because when you say easy, you're going to do all of those things, but that's why we always say strong communication skills, problem solving, being able to have initiative, because you're thinking. It's brain work. It's a lot of brain work. I'm thinking, if there's a problem, a CEO has said, okay, how do I get them to be able to see things? For instance, there's always pivots. So we talked about how, okay, we want to get data owners in. So apart from the policy bit of it, you want to get people who are accountable for this data owner in. So I can take up to 3. In fact, there's one I was working on a project before I left. I was on that project for a year, and we were unable to get these senior stakeholders in because we could simply not convince them, and we couldn't move on. And there were so many other things we had to do, for instance, education and training, comms plan that I just mentioned, and all of that. So it goes way beyond just only policy. There are so many other things that you do, but it is interesting, because I'm going to say that your life is interesting. It's not boring. You have to think on your feet sometimes. They can just say that, we're not doing this, we're pivoting. You will be convincing them, say, guys, let's do this. This is the reason why we need to do this. This is the value that I can give to you. So I hope that helps, in terms of you're just not only drafting policies, you're doing so many things. Procedural part of it is there.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah,
yes, I understand that.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand. I intentionally highlighted that because, when people think about tech or working in an organization, they're always thinking about tools. They're always thinking about the back-breaking job descriptions, basically. But your job seems like, if I have common sense, then I should be able to.
You don't be able to. Simple. You're it's not like software engineer. They'll say you must do this, you must know this, all of that stuff and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's quite interesting. So, for instance, I'm thinking, if a Primark should hire you, to come say, we have some issues with our data, what would your first week of, working in an organization like Primark be like?
So, first week will be to understand them. That is it. And it's not only first week. But there's an organization we're working on right now. We're working on a proposal, because I work in a consulting firm. So that's about 2 to 3, a month sometimes. You are trying to understand them. You need to understand the business itself. You need to understand their objective. You need to be able to align data governance to their objective. You need to be able to understand the pain point. But before you even start doing that, you need to know your stakeholders. So sometimes it means looking into that company, and trying to map out who is who. The data owners that we talked about usually are senior executives that are accountable for the quality of data. So they're not just any ordinary person. So it means looking at the organogram of the organization, for instance, or, the way they are, and start trying to figure out who is that senior person. And even apart from that, you need to figure out who the data stewards are. They probably have no idea of this. You're having those conversations with them, and data stewards are actually people we call subject matter experts in that business function. So they understand the process, the flow of data flows from one place, one source to the other. They understand all of that. So my first couple of weeks would be to be able to understand that business, align data governance to the value, map out the stakeholders, map out also the what I call data domain, which is literally grouping of data according to logical interest, before we now start talking into who, and then this is how it's going to work. So that's my first couple. That's what I'm going to be doing.
That's great. So I have a question. So what are certifications required, to excel in this role? Those are one of the questions those are the popular questions. In Nigeria, we love certifications. We love certifications a lot. We love
unpopular opinion, and I'm in Nigeria, like, to be honest, you can get a role without certification. I got my job with the certification that is actually required within the industry is something we call CDMP certification. So it's Certified Data Management Professional Certificate. So people start with the fundamentals and then move to the specialist and then to the master's exam. It's I think it was like $311 or something. But guess what? Even the organization that regulates data governance, DEMA, they've already mentioned it. It's fine for you to get into it, work there for like over 6 months or thereabouts for you to be able to, for you to now do that course, because the idea is when you are in that role, you have a better understanding of data governance. It's not just theoretical things like maybe from a textbook. You are seeing it, in that light, you're understanding it, and it's easier for you to be able to answer those practice questions and then be able to take the exam. So you don't need, and I say it's unpopular opinion, you don't need this certification to be able to get a role. I did not have a certificate. I've been working in that industry for a while now. I'm working towards getting my CDMP certification, but you don't need a certificate for you to be able to get it. Yeah. CDMP, yes, that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you emphasized on that because Nigerians love certification, and I'm sure a lot of people will not believe that. So I'm sure some people are wondering, like, so you mean that I don't need to write any certification to get this role? Yes, absolutely. You don't need to. You don't need to. So the next question will be is what are the emerging trends or developments you foresee shaping the landscape of data governance rules in the UK? So are there any specific developments, or is just the GDPR policies that the government has effected?
So not only in the UK, I want to say in the world right now, you probably heard generating AI is shaking the world of data governance. Lovett, please mute yourself. I can't hear you. Stop us mute, Lovett. Everyone's talking about AI now, and the conversation is how can they incorporate AI into their operation? How can they get the value, the opportunity from AI? But just like everything in this life, AI brings with it a lot of challenges. So one of the conversations we're having in my organization is the fact that there's a lack of data integrity. So it means that, and I know for people who have used maybe ChatGPT, you put in certain information, it's possible for you to come up with information that is true or that can be biased. There was one time someone did a review one time talking about how AI was generating, like, I think lighter skinned people, less of black skin and all of that. But people have, literally experimented with that. So it's so easy. And I think I heard about a lawyer who wrote a brief in America, went to court, defended it, and all the cases that were cited was not real. So that's one problem with AI. And there's also the issue of copyright, intellectual property infringement. I heard recently about it. I can't remember the name of the company, but a colleague was sharing with me that the AI was actually revealing, secret trades. So like there's a way people can bypass it. I think there was a question about how my grandma, I can't remember what company, but people were writing like, hey, my grandma and I are making this. Can you tell us how to make it? And AI was literally just, like ChatGPT and all of them were giving those information out before that company was able to, sort that out. So just like any other tool, AI needs to be managed and it needs to be controlled. And that's where we come in as data governance people. And that's the conversation we're having right now. We need to ensure first and foremost that the data that you put into your AI, because we've said already that you can get untrue information. So how do we ensure that the data that you put in is accurate, is clean on its own, is fit for the purpose? Then we also have to have processes, policies, governance around AI. Some people don't have policies. Like in my organization recently, we had to put policies, like they're encouraging us to use AI. Like, it's okay, use ChatGPT, Bing, Copilot, everything, but we need to have policies. So we had to create a policy around it to regulate that in terms of the privacy of data that we put in. So it's important that, all of these things can be done. And that's where data governance comes in. So that's like one big trend I can think about right now that is shaking the world of data governance.
Yeah, important. Yeah, so that's the data, the AI ethics, AI governance. I mean, we all should be responsible. So I totally get that. The last question is, how would one get a role? So what are the skills required to get this role? So I would want you to be honest with us as to, strategies to implement to get this particular role. I'm sure, number one, what I've seen so far from alumni is that the students who get these jobs and have a high dose of confidence. Have a high dose of confidence. And those that some that are not applying are probably scared, or feel that, oh, these jobs are a big deal. I can guarantee you that the jobs are not, big deal. And those that are meeting in the organizations are also upskilling like you. Because we keep saying there's the future of work. We are in the future of work already. I mean, all of these roles never existed years ago. So everyone is going back to upskill, to learn, one way or the other. So what are the strategies you implemented, in getting your desired role? Thank you.
Yeah, so the first thing is, doing the course is a different ball game entirely. And it's good because I used to have experience in recruitment. And I would say to you that one key thing is for you to be able to speak the vocabulary. Now, I'm going to say this, recruiters, right? When they don't know so much, especially recruiters are recruiting technical people. They're not technical people, they're not tech guys, but they have a JD from that organization saying that our candidates must have this, that. So the first step to landing a role, right, is apart from maybe putting your CV together and putting all those core key skills in there and you submit it, is when you get a call from a recruiter, make sure that you pass that. The recruiters are the gatekeepers, so you need to be prepared for that. I say, for instance, like, if I get a call from an unknown number and I pick it up and it's a recruiter, the first thing I want to do, or I tell them is, can you give me 1 minute? I'm going to find a quiet place to talk. You don't want to be talking with noise and everything around you. So find a quiet place. I used to, when I was looking for when I was looking for a role when I was in my dissertation, I used to be in library. I'm sure people that were in my school will remember, or maybe they might not remember, but I used to run up and down. Like, I'll just get from one point to, that was me. I was interviewing when I was doing my dissertation and everything. So always find a quiet place to talk. They are the gatekeepers. Take that conversation with recruiters like a job interview, because they're going to be asking you questions before they move you to the hiring manager. So if you don't even get your CV and start having those kind of conversations with them, like, your job is to convince them at that point that, you know what, and the best thing since sliced bread, and like Bisola said, confidence helps a lot. Like, don't underrate yourself. If you've gone through like a boot camp and all of that, those skills are important. Like, go into that interview sounding very confident and all of that. Once you kill, another thing again that people struggle with is being able to, they don't read. People don't, yeah. That's another thing. You do a course, or you do something, you're not reading. Are you reading? Do you really understand this? Can you break it down into, like, a way that you're able to relate to it? So I remember then, like, I and my friend, like, we were accountability partners. So I wanted to be able to get a data governance role within the UK. So remember that my, previous experience, everything, I needed to be able to get that role. What we did was, and I say to people, we used to talk about data governance because I'm a Yoruba girl. We'll break it down in Yoruba and we'll say, okay, what do you understand? We both work in, like, she works in a pharmaceutical company right now. I work in consulting, but we will break it down. We'll break it and say, this is what it means. We started applying like real life scenario. So remember how I talked about Primark and everything? We're applying real life scenario. So, okay, if it's this company, what do you think? Okay, who do you think is going to be a data owner? Okay, it's going to be head of customer service in that organization. Sure, his data is this. And that was how we broke it down. We also made it as practical as possible. So all the things that you have done in the course that, Hills and Tech and, and all the Colonial and all those companies, that work with Hills and Tech are doing, you can break them down into a practical bit, and I'll give you a scenario. Like one of those things that is talked about is data ownership. The way they've explained it, you need to break it down into scenarios. And when you are doing interview, there's something we call STAR analysis: scenario, task, action, result. So those are the kind of things that you do, like you create that scene. What is the scene? For instance, we're trying to get data owners within a company. Okay, that's fine, right? How do we get data owners into a company? You've already been taught in your boot camp, right? That is your task. So this is what you did, because you're going to be having practical experience to say, okay, remember all the things I said about mapping out the stakeholders, right? You needed to know who was who. You need to understand the business objective. You need to be able to align your data governance strategy with that. You need to be able to know who is who, so that you'll be able to, okay, what are all the business units? List all of them down. That is it. What was the action? This is it. This is what you did and all of that. In terms of, I did this, I spoke with the stakeholders, I did all of this and everything. What was the result? We were able to get a data owner who is maybe the head of customer service or whatever it is as a data owner. So I'm just giving that like a beer. Your scenario might not be like that, but try as much as possible to break all of those things into practical experiences. Another thing, again, you might want to do is get a data governance professional and shadow them. Like, ask them, what is your day-to-day like? In a day when you get to the office, what do you do? It helps you to be able to understand, like, okay, this is the job. Oh, so because people feel like, oh, it's just this. It's not only that. When you're having those conversations with them, you have an idea of, okay, this is what is going to be expected from me in the role. When you are reading your job description, you're already picturing that to say, okay, this is what they mean. I have seen this person do this. Oh, this is what it means. Okay, that's good. I know someone who has no experience in data governance at all, land an internship role, just because of this, having this conversation to say, this is this is that, and all of that. In fact, her CV, I remember seeing that CV, had no previous data governance experience. She landed, as a none whatsoever, she landed a role. So it's also because of this conversation, like, those were the conversations we're having. What do you do on a day-to-day basis? What are the things that are expected from me and all of that? Remember that you're not expected to know everything. You don't have to know everything. And most times, especially in a good organization, they will develop you, they will help you to move from, one level to the other. So do not be afraid, be confident, please. And, go out there feeling like you're the best thing since sliced bread. Don't let imposter syndrome, win. Just be very confident. Yeah. I hope those are practical tips, Bisola. If there's any other thing, I'm happy to shed more light.
I'm sure. Yeah, there are lots of things that you missed, and I remember having a conversation with you, and then you shared your experience about going to all of these organizations' websites to look at their events, so that you could leech on that. You can leverage on that to speak during your interview. Yes.
Yeah.
So aside from confidence. Yes, aside from confidence and courage, those two things, if nobody picks up anything after this webinar, I want you to pick up confidence and, courage. Well, I was at an event yesterday, and, we're just talking about women in finance and, how to manage our funds. And some people were saying, like, I can't take loans. A lot of us could not take loans. Meanwhile, a man would walk into the bank and take 100 billion, loans to expand his business. And when we began to look into the reasons why a woman would not do that, and we realized that the underlying thing was courage. So right from where we're young, a young boy would go outside to play football. Meanwhile, we, the young girls, were asked to, stay at home to nurture everyone at home. We were not built for the wild world. You understand? And none of this is affecting us, even in our new job roles, in getting all of these roles that we deserve. So a woman would look at a job description and feel that she does not, she's not qualified because she doesn't meet 100% of the requirements. Meanwhile, a man will look at it and tick just two requirements, and it's good to go. So if we do not take anything away from this webinar, we need to ensure that we are working on our confidence. Confidence is important to get these roles because it really breaks our hearts when we see these job roles and nobody applied.
If Yasmin working tomorrow?
Please mute your mic. Please mute your mic, please.
Bisola, and I was just going to shed more light. So number one, about not meeting the full job description. So I remember the job. Okay, I think you muted me. So I remember the job I am in right now. When I saw so it was a recruiter that reached out to me. I'd gone through all of that before. I mean, I saw the JD and all of that, but I did not match 100%. You don't have to match 100%. If you feel like you match 50, in fact 30, go ahead and be confident, like Bisola said. And one of the things she said, like, right, I remember now vividly. So when I was applying to companies, right, and this is a tip I always use, right, I do my research about the company. I don't only just, I read like every minute thing. You will find me on their TikTok. If they have TikTok, you will find me on their Twitter page, Instagram, every single thing, their website, particularly their events column. I applied for a data governance role with a bank one time, and it was the last day of that application. I just put in my application. One of the things that I noted was they had just started something. They just started a fund in a region. So I made sure that I implemented that information within, what do they call it now? My application. Another thing I did again
is cover letter, right?
Yes. I saw that they were recruiting on LinkedIn. There were a lot of applicants that applied via LinkedIn. I don't do that. It's an unpopular opinion. I don't do easy apply. No. I will go to your website and apply directly on your website. So I put that information in and I got a call. I actually got the job, but I turned down the job. And I remember what they said to me was, we felt like you know our organization so much, because I had done my research so much that I was talking about how, as a data governance professional, I would be able to help their processes, because people just do random AI generated, whatever it is. Make sure that you make your cover letter. I do whatever it is, like people are lazy, but me, I do cover letter deliberately because they're looking at your application. Your CV might be there, but it might not have all that information to stand you out. Your cover letter is not a summary of your CV. You're showing them that, you've done your research about the company and you are capable. Oh yeah, and they are the best thing since sliced bread. So that's what I do. I go out of LinkedIn or whatever it is. If I see the job on maybe Indeed, I'll go and check the company's post. I can apply on Indeed or anywhere, but before I apply on Indeed, I will check if the company hasn't listed on their website. You will see me applying directly on that website. If they don't, and then I cannot apply through any other job boards. But please do your research. In fact, look, before you do your cover letter, look at the recent thing. You'll be sure that there'll be something a day before or 2 days before that will just make you stand out from every other candidate, because not everybody is doing that. Yes. So I hope that helps.
Yes. So can we share, I would like you to share like an example of how you write your cover letter. Could you just, write a short letter? So maybe give us like a prompt as to how you go into ChatGPT, because ChatGPT, improves efficiency, and we always encourage everyone to use it. So for instance, you are speaking about yourself, like you're Yejide Adewaku, you're a lawyer for the past 10 years across Africa, because you worked in Nigeria, so because you're Nigerian, you say across Africa, and then Europe. I mean, so those are two continents. I'm just telling you things that, recruiters pick, to make sure that you are different from any other person. And then you now merging the information you got from the website, the company website, into your personality. And then, so how do you come up with that? And then, pass that information across to the organization? Because I can guarantee you that a lot of people find that part, difficult.
Okay, so popular opinion, I feel sometimes that ChatGPT generates a lot of, if you don't use good prompts, generates a lot of rubbish. So you need to know the prompts to use. So I'm not really a fan of, I know my company is encouraging people to use that and all of that. But yeah, I'm going to say if you're using ChatGPT, please use prompts. So put like basic, like Bisola said, information about you. But for me, when I'm doing like my basic old style, traditional cover letter, apart from putting all of these prompts, I go to the job description, the JD of that role. there's some keywords that are there. Make sure that you impute those keywords in your CV, because that's what they are looking for. It's like someone saying that, you know what, I need to get someone that fries plantain. Their plantain must be brown, right? I'm going to be looking for someone that can fry brown plantain. If you can fry yellow plantain, I'm like, that's not what my client is looking for. My client is looking for brown plantain. I'm trying to make it basic. That's exactly what you need to do. So take out those keywords. Remember, sometimes like the hiring managers, like I said, or recruiters that don't even have an idea of what you are doing. They just have a list of words that are keywords. So use those keywords from the job description to write your cover letter. And another thing again is, your cover letter is not a summary of your CV. People make that mistake. No. The first thing I always like to do is like an introduction, just doing like the first basic, couple of lines talking about my experience. So I'm a data governance, professional with over a decade. I use like years, because I want to be able to show that, I've got significant experience and all of that. And I always say to people, it's like cumulative. So my legal background is important. I've been providing strategic advice before I started doing data governance, right? So I merge it together to say, this is what it is I am doing, right? Then I talk about like, how my skill, can actually help the organization. And that's the role of the research that you have done. So remember, if I can find that cover letter, so I'll probably share with you. It's been a while, but I remember talking about how I've seen that they've just, created a fund. And I started talking about the basic challenge. So I thought about it like, and you can use ChatGPT now, because when I was in there was ChatGPT. So think about it like, put a prompt to say, what are the challenges that a bank would, experience or something when they're doing this, list out those challenges. Those are the things I said to say, what, I believe that my skill as this and this will be able to help. And I talked about how I have strong communication skills. I had that, cumulative of this will be able to help me. And then I put something like, oh, I'm available to have a quick chat, to discuss further, how valuable I can be and all of that stuff and everything. And then I end my cover letter. So that's what I do. I don't make it, it's a page. It's not an episode. Just keep it like a page with the keywords that you need, so that even if it is ATS, like those applicant tracking system and all of that, they pick you, or it's human eye that's looking at it, you get in. That's the most important thing.
Yes. So thank you for that. One last question. We've exceeded our and we apologize. Yejide is a mom of two. I'm sure our kids are just waiting by the door for her to step out.
I gave them popcorn before I came upstairs, so they are very, very.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, so yes, I wouldn't want our kids to, cry. So one last question is how people can move from care jobs, into these roles. So I understand that as human beings, we must have faced some rejections, we must have been battered, all of these things, all of these affects our self-esteem. Sometimes we also feel that, let me settle. I mean, I have kids. I can't waste, I can't afford to waste time. You understand? I can't afford to put this care job on hold just because I want to get a better job. My kids have to eat. So how were you able to, I'm sure you've moved, you have lots of immigrants around. How were you able to encourage them to move,
in Canada,
beyond,
getting
beyond that care job, into getting all of these roles, these wonderful roles? And can you tell us the benefits of getting this job as against settling into care roles?
I don't think it's a problem, but how will he get it from me?
Omar, please mute yourself. So one of my star stories I always like to say, there's one of my very good friends, both studied together, and she was
if you're okay with it, sure, I don't mind.
Admin, please help us. Oh, sorry, please help us.
He's your friend, so it's fine.
Please help us meet Omar Leslie. I can hear.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
It's fine.
That is so horrible.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, how do you move from that? So I was talking about her and how I'm so proud of her right now. See, a lot of people settle for short-term value than long-term value. When I started applying for like a role here in the UK, like it was hard. Like, most companies will reject me. In fact, I remember someone said, because I needed to pay my bills and all of that, and someone was saying like, are you sure you're not going to get any job and just start working right now and all of that stuff and everything? I just said to myself, no. I said to myself, and I don't always like to give this timeline, because to everyone it might not be the same. You might give yourself that timeline, it might not work, not because of anything, but we're both different. But I set a timeline for myself. People that know me will remember that I used to go to the library after I finished writing my dissertation, because I wanted to get a job before I graduated, and I was literally there reading, applying for jobs and stuff and all of that. I would say my advice is, don't settle for short term, because I know that there's a pressure to pay your bill, and I'm not trying to be like, I've been in those shoes before. Don't settle for short term. I didn't want a backbreaking job. And I'm not trying to be derogatory. Care is, every work is, there's dignity in labor, it's important. But if that's not what it is, that you're not cut out for, it's fine. I said to myself from the beginning, I'm not cut out for this role. This is not me. And I have 2 children, like Bisola said. So I wanted a job that I'll be able to do from the comfort of my home, which is what I do right now. I'm really grateful that I'm able to work from the comfort of my own, and my organization is really flexible in terms of that. So please don't settle for short term. Don't settle for short term. You're going to get rejections, obviously. Like, we all have gotten that dreaded. Unfortunately, you're unable to proceed to the next stage and everything, but don't let it keep you. If it is possible, get an accountability partner. My friend and I we're our own accountability partner. So we're pushing ourselves. We used to, every night, in fact, it was 9 p.m. We set a time when my kids go to bed. We will get on Zoom and we would talk for 1 hour. If I'm not able to make that because I'm out, I remember then I will call her on the phone. We talk. I used to be like, just talking about different things. We will break this down. So if you can put yourself in a group, make friends in your, boot camp, put yourself in a group and keep yourself accountable, and don't settle for short term. Don't give up. Keep pushing. And like Mr. said, like, this role allows you to work from the comfort of your home. They are fully remote roles. I know people that they won't take any job that even allows them to go to the office. I have a friend like that. If you tell him, you just say no. Before you even talk, mention the amount, just say, sorry, no, I'm looking for, fully remote kind of thing. Those are the kind of things that, you get. And again, long-term value. This kind of roles, if you go on job boards and you check for salary, like, the salary is higher than what you were. And that's what I always thought in my head. If you're working in warehouse, you're getting, even if it's max, you're getting 12, but even if you're getting £25 per hour, it's not the same thing in terms of the backbreaking, role that you're doing. You can earn more. You can get private, depending on your company, you get bonuses, you get private healthcare. There's so many things that you can get from just working in an organization like that, and you earn more money. So there's more that you don't get, with other organizations. Even if you get private healthcare, my God, the back-breaking, job that you have done and everything is not making it easy. So please don't settle for less. Remember that you're a valuable asset, even if you've been doing care. And I know those kind of jobs have a way of just affecting your mental health and self-esteem. I know someone who was working in care and he was able to get a job, as a data governance person. I pushed him so hard. And when he got his job and his offer, he said to me, I was like, thank you so much for not giving up. Because I would call him, like, he's on shift. I said, come out, like, let's have a conversation when you finish, sit down and everything. So even if you are doing your shift, while you are working, warehouse care and everything, don't give up. Set a timeline for yourself. Make sure that you are reading. Make sure you're on top of it. Even when you're tired, please find time. If it's in the middle of the night, apply, track your application so that when you have, what do they call it, interviews, you can prepare before the interview. So you're not there and you're just lowering your words, you're not saying what they want to hear. So please don't give up. Don't settle for short term. Look for long term, because there's so much value from that. So I hope that helps. Bisola, over to you.
Oh, yes, it did. Thank you. So I think the last question would be, can someone on care sponsorship switch to this kind of roles? That's number one. And then the other similar question we have is, does this role offer sponsorship in countries like UK? That's the second question. And then the third question is, I want to believe you have other nationalities from here. So maybe for people from Canada, Nigeria, and then US, Australia. So my third question would be, what would you like to tell them in terms of applying for data governance roles? I'm sure that you worked across Europe, so you can just share your experience. So those are 3 questions before we finally round up.
Yeah. So the first one is, by the way, for the immigration issues, here's a disclaimer that I always add. I am not an immigration consultant, neither do I assume to be one. So you might need to confirm any information that that has to do with immigration on the government website. I'm only going to be giving you my own personal experience, and I am not liable for anything that happens afterwards if you take my advice. Yeah. So I know people who have been able to get sponsorship roles. Yeah, a couple of people that I've spoken to have been able to get sponsorship roles from that. In terms of someone who is on sponsorship, care sponsorship already, I can't say, because the rule is you have to probably find another employer. So you might need to actively start looking for. So if you were going to move within that industry or do any job, it will be within that industry. But data governance is not care. So you will need to find another employer that will offer you sponsorship so that you'll be able to work with them. So I don't think you can't use that same COS. You have to get a new COS. I hope that helps. And then for anyone who's, willing to want to get into this, I'm just going to say that, even within the industry that I'm in right now, you'll be shocked that people that you think that they know so much do not know a lot. When you start having conversations, you hear them talking about imposter syndrome, like people are dealing, and you'll be thinking in your mind, like, this and that, don't underrate, because as Black people, as Africans, we do that a lot. We get to a place and we start underrating ourselves. Please don't underrate yourself. Like, the valuable experience, it doesn't matter even if it's not in data governance, that you have is important. I know people who have worked as insurers, in different places, they talk about their experience there. Don't underrate yourself because people are there talking about technological jargons and stuff and all of that. You don't need to know all of those things. I've been in meetings before that when we finish, I'll be thinking it's only me that was hearing Greek. My colleagues will say, and they have more experience than me, they'll say, did you understand? I was like, no, I was writing a list of all the things I don't understand. I was just going to ask you people. They don't understand, right? Because we're not technical, like, we're tech people, we work in tech, right? But we're not core tech that, you say coding things and we understand. So don't be intimidated by at all. The skills you have is enough to be able to get you that role. And most importantly, especially for those that not only, because I know people are in Nigeria, but the people are here in UK and everything. There's a way we always feel sometimes because we're immigrants, we sort of downgrade ourselves. Please remember that you're a valuable asset wherever you are. You are the best thing since sliced bread. I have realized that when you're getting into an interview, confidence, there's something about confidence. It works. I always talk about where I'm working right now. I'd gotten like job offers, and the recruiter reached out to me and everything. In fact, I was when I was in Shakara, I was telling them, like, I'm sorry, I've got a job. They were like, oh, please, and all of that stuff. I was like, I need to make a decision right now. They set my interviews. I had 3 back-to-back interviews. I don't think they've done that before. They literally said to me that, don't worry, the person is not around, but we're going to set something and all of that. And they bent over backwards. Not only even in this role. When I was a student, I was working with one of the top job boards. I was the first international student to work there. My manager said to me that she got over dozens of people that she was just signing. And I remember then when the organization was calling my school and the school was trying to do drama, like, oh, this, my manager said a word to me. She's like, I really like you. I think you're going to be an asset to the team. So don't worry, I've got you. I have seen companies bend over backwards to accommodate people when they realize that they have the skill. Sometimes you don't even know. I know someone, a friend of mine who interviewed, he didn't tick all of the technical bits, but because they felt it was going to be a cultural fit for the organization, they took him. He asked for more money. They gave the gaps and all of that stuff. So companies will even help you in terms of those gaps. They will help you to be able to improve. Questions most times saying, okay, how can we improve your skills and all of that stuff. So please bear this in mind when you're applying for jobs. Don't settle less. Don't be intimidated. Don't let imposter syndrome affect you. Go for the best and go for it. Don't forget that.
Thank you. Yes, that's all for now. Thank you so much, Yejide. Thank you so much, Yejide. The last question, I think someone said, is there a qualification? No, there's no qualification. All you need to do is upskill. So Youth and Tech has this course, which you can, and we are running a discount, which you should, hurry up and then take advantage of before it goes back to the original price. We have an awesome facilitator who is taking this course, highly experienced and highly supportive. You would love him. And then also, just aside from the fact that we teach you in class, we also support our students, which means that even after graduation, you can always come back to ask for support, to seek for help, to discuss your challenges here and there. And so yes, so how much for the course, please? So the real fee is 350,000, but there's a discounted fee of 280,000. It's been discounted to 280,000 naira. So you should hurry up before that opportunity closes, because it's rare, it's very, very rare, especially in today's world where inflation is rising. So we also offer installment payment. So you should take advantage of that. This is the beginning of the year. And what I've seen so far is when people take advantage of opportunities early, they are able to, it catapults them into, bigger opportunities. I remember when we started Use and Tech, for those students who are upskilled at the beginning of the at the beginning of the brand, at the beginning of the company when we started, they're on their second and job, they're on their second and third jobs at the moment. So this is the beginning of the year. You just never know what would happen before December. So we want you to take advantage of this upskill, join our supportive alumni, join our community, and then I think that would be it for now. I can see someone raising up their hands. I don't know if it's a mistake or maybe we should ignore. And just before we go, I would like that everyone, especially thank Yejide by, giving her a round of applause in the comment section, and then also and then also giving that, like, sharing a positive experience, what we've learned so far. So for me, I'm especially thankful for Yejide, who is my friend, my very good friend. I'm in awe of what she's doing. Sometimes I'm like, hey, Yejide, I think I would need to drop my resignation letter with Use and Tech so I can come and join you. I can come and join you with this your data governance course. So yes, that's amazing. We are really proud of you, Yejide. Thank you for being a motivation. Thank you for representing us. Thank you for representing immigrants, and thank you for the awesome session. Oh, I can see all of the applause in the chat group. So thank you, Yejide. Yes, she's the job. She's the bomb. She's doing very well with Bloom. Yes, yes, and we appreciate that. So thank you. Thank you everyone for joining us for today's session. We can't wait to meet you in class. Share the good news with your friends and your families. And of course, we can't wait to celebrate all of your achievements before the end of this quarter, and then hopefully before the end of the year. So does any other person have a question before we decide to end the session? No. Okay. All right. So this would be the end of it all. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Yejide. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, there'll be a replay. It will be on our website. You can always watch or recatch it. Thank you. Bye-bye.